Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. It's 5:28. Do we have any additions, deletions to the agenda?
Yes, in addition to item number 8, approval of minutes from 7/9, just add 7/17 as well. That was the informational session, and that was technically a select board meeting, so, and which the minutes have been distributed to you prior to the meeting as well. Additionally, to amend the agenda, we're going to be moving the road foreman's report to right item number 4, basically, and keep everything down. There's just a schedule.
Okay. So right now, public comment. Yes, ma'am.
I would like to make it board policy that your cell phones put in a basket on the table, turned off until the end of a meeting, so we do not see people that have been elected to our select board pay full attention to our meeting and not what's coming through on their cell phone and texting back. When we had the meeting about the Virginia Panton boundary, there were several sitting in the front of the room that were on their phones texting. And I just think it's not what you're up there for. If you can't put your phone down for 2 hours, you guys are adults, and you should be able to put those phones down in the meeting.
Thank you for your comment. Anything else? Any other public comment? Is there an issue? Oh, okay. Any other comments? Okay. Moving on to our road foreman's report and the paving plan review.
Mitigation grant is all done. All good with turning it in. That's for 15,000 we got back. And we found the water line today down on that culvert.
Oh, good.
It's on the edge of the road. And there's 36-inch culvert there now. The state's making me put a 60-inch in.
Okay.
So it's gonna be a little bit of work. And when Chris Acker gets back out of Canada doing a runway, he's gonna get hold of me. We can do it. We're gonna try to get it done before school starts.
Perfect. Okay.
And we got the, we're gonna do a Hoppy Road distance tomorrow. Try to finish that up. Then I got a little bit of Funny Road finish. Then we're gonna move it back to Adam Ferry Road.
Okay.
And get that taken care of up there.
One of the things that Rick and I have been working on, basically on Rick's knowledge and experience, is the updated paving plan, which I provided the select board will include in the town reports going forward. Now, obviously, this might be subject to some change as the Reserve Fund Planning Commission is also going to be discussing the allocation of reserve funds in terms of planning for municipal expenses like paving. However, the goal was in the development of this plan, we realized that the initial scale of the plan was a little drastic in terms of cost. We're experiencing, higher than average, higher than average, it is now average cost for paving. And the goal was to scale this back a little bit. It still comes in high, and so we will continue to work on reducing that, working with the Reserve Planning Commission, and also working with Rick and myself to reduce the cost of the paving plan. Additionally, seeking any and all state grants available to assist in this process, obviously the annual paving. However, the other data on this representing the last year paved is as correct as we had records for in terms of what has been kind of updated in the audit depreciation schedule. And so, this meshes well with Rick's knowledge on where we are in the cycle, so to speak. We have approximately 10 miles of paved road in the town, and we're looking to pave that every mile, within a year or two from its last decade of pavement. Obviously subject to change as conditions change, but this is the updated paving. So I'm sure Rick would be happy to answer questions on it as well.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Steve Weber, one of the people that is working on that is on the planning committee. And I'm just wondering why we're talking about this now. Those people who are involved, who were in the room, know that we were working on coming up with a paving plan that's contemplated, that's on a map, so we can see it, and there's a logical sense to it.
I had actually asked just for this because I wasn't aware of the paving plan. So that's good feedback as well.
Yeah, it's part of what we're doing.
Yep.
And I don't understand why we're talking about this now. We haven't even had a chance to discuss this with Rick or with, in any depth whatsoever.
Yep.
And it just seems premature. I don't know what sort of action is being contemplated at this meeting or,
Yeah.
or not, but I will say that the paving plans that have been published in the town report over the last 3 years anyway, longer, are extremely inconsistent. There's no plan that's being, it's almost like starting with a blank piece of paper every year, and that's what we're trying to do in a more contemplative way so that there is a plan and we can project expenses in the future and we can have a paying plan for the town that normalizes the tax rate. So we have the amount of money that we need either in the operating budget or reserve accounts to accomplish the plan. It seems to have been fairly haphazard. That's what we're trying to get away from. I haven't seen the payment plan that you're looking at now. Perhaps we'll see that at our next meeting, but it's seems premature at this point to be even discussing the payment plan at this meeting, since we haven't even really.
So my understanding is that there's been a big push to see a paving plan. I don't think this is cast in stone. I think this is a general outline for the reserve committee to look at. So people have been saying we want to see the paving plan. This is what was generated. It doesn't mean it's cast in stone, and it doesn't mean it can't be altered. It just means this is what has been done and projections moving forward that of course can be changed. I think it's not that it's premature or that this is cast in stone, correct me if I'm wrong, but that this is just this is what was paved before, so lining it up, this is what it would cost to pave it now.
This is a reflection of what's in the town report.
Right. So I don't think.
This is not asking for action items, this is a review of what is currently in place, with the idea that the reserve fund planning commission last year's town.
Yeah, okay, but that's so drastically different from the town report before, which is so drastically different from town report.
Which is why I think we're trying to establish this as an idea, and we're discussing what is discussed now, and with the idea that it goes to.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just curious, since Addison's already paid their end that they were going to pay on Jersey Street, are we going back to the original to pay Lake Street, or are we still going to pay Jersey Street?
We're not
We're going to
paying-
get that $50,000 back because we're not hooking on with them. They already paid theirs.
They're not done chip sealing yet. They're not done.
Okay.
The plan was to do Button Bay Road this year, but then when Addison said that, Gary said it wouldn't cost, the moving and all that. That's why we did it, and Addison went through the same thing we did with the culvert crane. They didn't sign off on it.
So they're not done paving yet?
They're doing rubber chip sealing up to the line.
Okay, okay, so then we're moving on to the.
Thank you, Rick.
Thanks, Rick. We'll move on to the hearing on the for Genspan boundary, and we have a couple of components of that.
Basically, the select board is going to motion to Virgins Panton boundary.
Sure, I will make a motion to enter into the Virgin's Panton boundary hearing.
And I will second that.
5:48.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So thank you very much, appreciate it. Obviously, this is an opportunity for the select board to ask questions of myself as part of the kind of fact finding group. It's also a question, it's also an opportunity for the public to engage in the select board on this issue. I'm happy to provide any and all information. Research on this topic has not stopped. In fact, has increased at a rapid pace, and a number of other things are kind of all the details are now kind of being explored, and I'm happy to discuss any aspect of this with the select board, or even just start with some of the things that have been kind of, you know, further cemented in terms of the general concept and idea as represented in the briefing session held on July 7th.
I think that we can,
So Tim Calman, the licensed surveyor hired by the city of Virginia, the town of Stanton, by funding provided for by Madison County Regional Planning, has done decades of historical research on where the best example or the best historical evidence may be found on the charter line. His estimation, based on his decades of experience as a licensed surveyor and his best historical research, shows that the charter line parallels where the boundaries of the original blocks from Ferrisburg would be. And in fact, they line up perfectly on the map based on that characteristic. The original surveys from Benjamin Ferris and the notes recreated from the original surveys by Benjamin Ferris indicate no survey was ever done of the city of Virginia during that process. However, the blocks of 200 acres line up exactly where the charter says that it should be. Virginia should be approximately 1,200 acres of land. Virginia is currently taxing 1,600 acres. And the difference, obviously, that discrepancy is what has led us to this process now of having to make this kind of hearing and this kind of discussion of part of parcel.
5 years ago, two blocks.
Yeah, and those are probably remnants of the ideas of the original 200-acre parcels that Benjamin Ferris would survey the boundary in. Should have had a survey been done. A survey had not been done, and there was no historical evidence to show that a survey had been done. And so that's why the city of Virginia is laid out one dimension in its charter, but is in fact a different dimension in its kind of reality of that. The lot lines in Ferrisburg were more clearly distinct, and so it was easier to learn from the historical record where the lot lines in Ferrisburg were laid out. So by extrapolation, the lot lines in Ferrisburg generated the idea of where the lot lines would have led into the city of Virginia in terms of its creation in a square shape, obviously, the blocks of 200 acres making up the city of Virginia.
On the ground. When they did the water line, the marker disappeared.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that kind of the mists of history have clouded this to a great extent, because a lot of what has determined the current boundary has been reinforced continually by the placement of boundary signs. The signs that say welcome to Virginia, welcome to Panton, like that have really ended up determining where that boundary has existed, because it was very difficult for aerial surveillance and things like that for a person across the river to be able to set a line directly to where it needed to go in relation to that sign. And so the boundary was moved several feet, but obviously is exceeded by several thousand feet in the original charter.
That's, you find any other markers anywhere?
Tim Cowan, who's been researching this since 1995, has not found evidence of any markers in this name that I know of, to the best of my knowledge. He will be available, I believe, at the Virgins informational meeting on the 26th, and he will be able to answer further questions there as well. His full presentation is available on the town website, and his presentation to the Historical Society or to the Selectboard of Ferrisburgh is also available on the Ferrisburgh website. And that's a very interesting presentation if you haven't seen that. And so all those parts and pieces together really, I suggest everyone watch that presentation to really kind of get the historical depth of this particular.
Mel?
Thank you. My name is Mel Hawley, a Virgins resident today. I just want to, I actually have a procedural question. You made a motion so quickly to call this hearing to order, whatever, and pass it, and here we are in this hearing. I want to just read the first sentence of this statute. It's Title 24, Section 1461. It's called Location or Alteration of Municipal Lines, Monuments. When the legislative bodies of adjoining municipalities are able to agree as to the location of a municipal line, each legislative body shall vote in meetings to the vote. Each legislative body shall hold at least one public hearing duly warned for the purposes of informing the public of and allowing public comment on the location of the line. So my question is, I mean, it clearly states when the legislative bodies of adjoining municipalities are able to agree. So you're having a hearing tonight. You know, I didn't hear 24-1461, but I did hear the word hearing. I didn't hear the words information sessions. That's what the FAQ refers to as information sessions. I heard the word hearing. So since you use the word hearing, either, let me ask you this, have the legislative bodies agreed to a line?
No.
I was gonna say, not that I'm aware of.
So my point is that because the two towns have not agreed to a line, the holding of a public hearing is premature. I'm not a lawyer, I'm a math guy, okay, but I do know how to read lots of statutes, so it's okay with me to continue this session, if you will, but I would like to make sure that your records are crystal clear that you're not having a hearing under 1461, right? And I may have some comments a little later, but
That's okay.
I want to yield my time to hear from some Panton folks, and I would like to come back and speak to the board at some point.
Thank you.
Just a point on that, the law says at least one. We can hold as many as we want. So this will be the one in a series of hearings. Prior to any vote following 1461, the law says at least one hearing shall be held.
After the legislative bodies have agreed.
The legal opinion by the lawyers has said that we can hold as many hearings.
Okay. Kathy?
I guess I would like to know if the residents of the town of Panton and the city of Virgins can weigh in on this issue by voting, instead of we have a 5-member select board in Panton and 6 or 7 members in Virgins. And the 2 administrators that have been working on this do not reside in either town. So I guess I have a problem with so few people making the decision. I think it should be the voters of the 2 areas that make the decisions. Whether we go, you gave us 3 choices, I guess, in the presentation as to which way. That's my opinion.
Sharon?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. The first one is, they mentioned the working group of each community, but they give a laundry list of experts and lawyers and all this stuff. But no names. You don't know who these people are. And I do not remember an actual working group being established in the town of Panton of people that are in our community that we know.
that are working on this, and I would like to see that.
Yeah.
Because I wanna know who's doing this. You know,
It's on the website.
I looked there,
It's on the website, under meeting notes. The meeting notes represent the people who participated in the fact-finding process. It's not an extensive list because our conversations with lawyers on the behalf of the select board would be privileged.
well, all those hands, and I did not see a list of people that were, all I saw was a laundry list of, you know, 5 names. But anyway, the other question I have is there were 3 options to choose from. And it said that the administrative staff were the people that decided which option would be the best one. I want to know why it's the administrative staff that is making that decision and not the legislative bodies of the 2 communities. And why, in an issue that is this important, where Virgin's has been, the tax map has been established for 185 years, I mean, that's an awfully long time. It would seem to me that Virgin's actually has a pretty good case for adverse possession if they felt like it. You know, they've been actively taxing these properties. You only need 15 years for an adverse possession.
That is not the case in municipal law. There is no such thing as adverse possession in municipal law. There is no circumstance by which Virgins can exceed the bounds of their charter to tax any parcel. There is no state statute or law which gives Virgins the ability to extend their tax maps to other towns. Doesn't matter the duration. There is numerous case law to support this. I mean, I can list you off the cases. All the cases are on the website.
Okay, well, I'd like to look at cases.
Yeah.
I did not see any cases on the website.
They're listed in the working the documents, I believe. They're listed in all the working group documents. Putney v. Brookline, Newton v. Brookline, Searsburg versus Woodbury, all the cases, firm case law has established that the charter line stands regardless.
Okay, so why was the decision made to go with option 3 instead of option A, which would be the least disruptive to everybody concerned? And it would, not have people upset because their property is no longer going to be Virgins, they're going to be in Panton, and they don't want to live in Panton, they want to live in Virgins. 185 years is an awful long time for this never to have been directed. You know, that's, I mean, really, it seems like, why was that option A eliminated so easily?
The recommendation of the administrative group was of the opinion that the first thing you do when you find yourself in a hole is stop digging. And the deal with adverse possession not being a legitimate concept in municipal boundary law, understanding that this was always a game, and that was always Ferrisburg, and that was always Waltham, and understanding that those are components. Now, understanding that the realities of the situation in terms of parcels don't necessarily make sense for it to be a whole kind of one size fits all approach. The goal from the administrative group was to propose a reasonable starting place for discussion for the legislative bodies to then take under consideration. Obviously, the legislative bodies are free to do what the legislative bodies would like to do. You are the ultimate deciders in this. But the goal of the administration was to provide a soft landing that respects historical tradition on the part of Panton's loss of grand list and tax revenue over the intervening hundreds of years, but also respects that the realities of the situation are such that just a simple cut and dry charter line would not be respectful to the residents involved in this particular area. It was a middle path, and that is the proposed starting place for negotiation. This is the beginning of this process. This is not the end of this process. No one's asking either legislative body to make a decision. We are asking for, the administration is making a proposal for consideration.
Thank you.
Sharon, can you move up to the mic, please, because people on there can't hear what you're saying.
My question isn't being answered then. Why is the legislative body not doing this and the administrative body is making these kind of decisions, making up?
Nobody's making a decision.
recommendations?
So we are going to be forming a group from Selectboard
The-
to work
yeah.
on this with Virgins.
Right, the administrative body, they're the ones who compiled all the materials, but they're not making the decision. They're the
No,
ones
They
who,
made a recommendation
Yeah.
that option 3, they said was the best one.
Right.
That's what it says in the documents.
That is, and that's the starting point.
That's
That,
just their opinion.
that's their
Yes.
opinion,
It's
and
recommendation.
it will come to us, and we get to determine whether or not that is the vote of Panton. And then Virgins gets to do the same thing, and then we will, and if we choose the same thing, yay, and if we don't choose the same thing, then we go back to the drawing board and keep negotiating and figure it out.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you guys move up to the mic, please, when you speak? Thank
Yep.
you.
I'm not sure the mic is on.
Take it out of the whole and hand it to her.
Okay, over here,
Oops.
actually, over here first. Did you have your, I'm sorry, did your question get
Yeah.
answered? Yeah. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Betty Jo Boucher, and my husband and I own 127 West Main Street. So I'm one of the property owners that seems to be in the middle of whatever this is. We purchased this home 14 months ago, specifically in the city of Virginia. And that is nothing against Panton whatsoever, but as a new family to Vermont, I find this all very strange. Particularly when residents that are impacted by something as substantial as this are not in any way represented in any of the working group or research that's being conducted. And the opaqueness around some of this is frankly concerning. It's been sort of kind of a trickle waterfall of information that we've been able to receive. In fact, the only reason most of those documents are on that website is because I personally did a freedom of information request. So that was the sort of, that's the appropriate response. Putting it on the webpage, not a perfect response, because that information seems to be evolving over time, so it's unclear whether we're all sort of making evaluations or sort of gaining clarity on the correct information because it's then being updated without being time-stamped. So there are several inaccuracies in the information that was provided, in particular one pertaining to my home around our sewer connection. We cannot not have a sewer connection to the city of Virgins, but it was listed as us not having one. I mean, that seems like a small thing that could have been corrected. Perhaps if the speed at which we were running was slowed down for a second, so we could make sure that the information that everyone is considering is accurate. These are not just lines. These are human beings. These are families. These are neighbors. I hear the historical respect piece being sort of conjured here, but where's the respect to the property owners and all of us? Where's the respect to the people who specifically chose to live in a community who are now potentially being forced to do something different, right? That have a lot of implications, right? Changing your address in the modern world is not actually easy to do. Even just the time on task, right? So I think what I would be interested in understanding if I were from the town of Panton is what is the capacity evaluation for this municipality to take on an additional $10 million worth of property and all of the interest fees that come with that? And I would want to understand what the cost benefit analysis in doing so would be, right? If you bring on $10 million worth of property into the municipality and then you spend $12 million to support them, I think that might be something that you want to understand. You'll have to purchase more infrastructure and services for the city of Virgins in perpetuity. And I want to be clear, the word in perpetuity is very, very important here. We have all purchased homes with that infrastructure. There is no scenario by which any of us, and I can speak for myself most specifically, leave any of these tables without a legal binding agreement that says in perpetuity against every single thing that I purchased when I purchased that home 14 months ago. I heard while you own the home once, and that is not acceptable. The market value of our homes will not be compromised. It is clear to me that there's a tax revenue, like sort of impetus around all of this, and I get that. Money is important, especially in the state of Vermont, I get it. There are a myriad of other options where tax revenue could still come to the town of Panton from our homes without disrupting all of our lives. So just, there are a multitude of ways to skin this cat, besides this sort of like, I've got a hammer and here's my nail approach, which seems to be kind of the path that we're on. If I were the residents of the town of Panton, I would want to understand what it means when this new tax revenue comes to the municipality. Will the budget have to be increased to cover us? The answer is yes. What does that mean for your tax rates? I would want to have an answer to that question. And the same question needs to be asked in the city of Virgin. If we lose $10 million worth of property in the city of Virgin, I doubt the city is going to want to lower their budget because of that. So the tax rate in the city of Virgin will have to increase as well. So this is just a big, amount of energy to just increase taxes. Why don't you just say that instead, right? Instead of doing all of this stuff and just wasting everyone's time, frankly, and creating a lot of emotional and sort of mental stress in the process. I just, again, speaking from a property owner stuck in the middle of stuff that I did not in any way see coming, this is such a terrible introduction to becoming a Vermonter. And I just urge you to really take a step back and say, to what end is all of this? What is the problem that we are trying to solve?
Thank you.
Thank you. Somebody,
Oh, I think it was Melissa, and then we'll come up to you. Thank you. for the person.
I want to ask the question is, I don't think the good people can't have the ones that ask this, but I believe it has to do with the bypass question, is that how it started?
yes, you are
And I
correct.
think there's a conversation about much form of people that can't be doing this to again, causing their tax rates to go up. And I personally don't like that tax rate button. And we didn't bring this up ourselves. We're trying to right a situation. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Miss Melissa, right up here.
Yep.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kathy Fuller. I help property that's included in this, as well as my father's property, which is a legacy to our family. His name is Michael Daniel. And I agree with what you just said. These are neighboring communities with the same school system, neighbors that we're friends with. Our kids go to all of the same schools. This should not be a fight. This needs to be done appropriately, and fingers should not be pointed. That being said, I think there are a lot of questions that need to be answered for the residents. That's what I'm saying.
We can hand out this one.
For the residents that are involved, that are possibly moving, not really moving from Virginia to Panton. And I think it's on a town level, but it's also on a personal level, because this would impact the legacy of my family's inheritance in a huge way if we are not able to have access to the Virginia's sewer for our property. We have several family members. That property can be subdivided at some point, and without that, the property value plummets. And I think that that is a huge deal for the people that own these properties. So that being said, I just want to make sure that everything is clearly communicated with all of the residents involved. And that those residents should be the first and foremost people addressed on this problem.
Kyle, can you clarify, from what I read and what I understood is that because of, if the shift does take place as drawn or, and as it would be recommended if this change happens, that those properties affected would retain all of that?
Part of the proposal from the administrative staff, along with the negotiated line, was a respect for the zoning, sewer, recreational access, and basically every other factor that we could possibly consider that would come up for the folks that would be directly affected by this. Obviously, it is a significant shift. There are a variety of different mechanisms by which we're exploring that. One would be the creation of a permanent zoning district, comprising only the properties that came from Virgin's Panton, that would, in perpetuity, create permanent zoning as of Virgin's the day that the shift actually happens. Another would be an agreement with the city of Virgin's in perpetuity that folks would receive sewer service and sewer services commensurate with what they had been experiencing before at the same time. Again, this is part and parcel with the proposal from the administrative group that those things are a component of this negotiation. They should not be considered separately. It should be considered as one thing, as a respect for the people involved, and also the kind of promises made in the past, current living situations, all those considerations, and definitely as a component of this negotiation.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify because I thought I had read that, so.
Yeah, and I read that too. I just want to make sure that right now it's all just proposal.
Right.
And I just want to make sure that everyone knows exactly what's going on. Because honestly, I don't care whether I live in Virgin's or Panton. As long as nothing really is going to change for me except that I can't call the Virgin's schools.
No, you will be able to. No,
You would
will
be able to.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, so the idea is for all services, because Virgin's doesn't have their own municipal rescue squad. Bars is the municipal rescue squad for 5 towns. Virgin's contracts, or Panton contracts with Virgin's for fire service. Virgin's Panton contracts for Addison County Sheriff, but on a 911 call, Virgin's Police, Addison County Sheriff, and Vermont State Police all respond. Nothing changes in a community this small and this integrally connected. The goal, as expressed by Virginia City Council to several people, the goal will hopefully be, as part of this, that the only thing changes is where you vote and where you pay your taxes. And that's it. And, you know, your address.
Okay.
But at some point, the assessment value of your home will be reconsidered.
Yes, so right now, the assessor for the town, the lister for the town of Panton is working on, Virgin's just experienced a reappraisal. Panton experienced a reappraisal in 2024. It's very, very close. That's a really good thing for this. It's a great opportunity for us to be able to examine property values. The lister for the town of Panton is doing an analysis to see what the difference would be. He does not expect it to be very much, if anything, because the land schedules are very, very close. With the considerations that we mentioned, that come with zoning and sewage, which obviously will impact municipal value, or excuse me, parcel value. But if those things are components, then the value should be very, very close. We will have all that information publicly available as soon as it happens. We're in the process of working that through right now. It's just kind of, it's one of those things that take a little bit of time. But again, that's part and parcel with the negotiation, the proposed negotiated value.
Okay, Kathy, if you could send it down to Debbie, please, that would be great.
Thank you. I'm Debbie Brace. I live right on the lawn in Panton. My question is, and I'll be honest, I don't feel I have a horse in this race other than, yes, if we took on more property, maybe our taxes would go down. My question is, how do we decide, well, we're going to split it, even though our line goes so far, like the trailer park, how can we say, but we don't want the trailer park? If we're going to go for what's ours, we got to get what's ours. But the other thought, and the bottom line is, we give a lot to the city between fire department and the library, which the city of Virginia owns, even though, and for instance, the swimming pool and all the activities in Virginia maybe you should stop and think, why don't we barter? We become where we don't have to pay for fire service and for jets. It just, you know, we're gonna be saving money. And it's not gonna make people have to move or say they're living somewhere else. And I'm just throwing this out as suggestions. You know, perfect thing would be if we joined together and made a big community, you know, and all work together. But that's my biggest thing. If we're gonna take all our land, and we take all our land, including the trailer park. And I understand there's reasons why you don't want it, but you can't split hairs on this. We can go all the way, or we take and we barter and we make some type of agreements where we do not have to pay the money to the city of Virginia as we are, and let them keep going on and doing what they're doing. So
Thanks.
Thanks.
Somebody, okay, over
Yes,
here.
Hello, everybody. My name is Charles Scrivener. I live at 125 West Main Street. Most of you know me through my profession as the Scoutmaster of Troop 539, or as a longtime coach in the community. My wife was and I moved to Virginia in 2003. In 2019, we chose to we had 3 children. We had to size up our little ranch. We just outgrown. We looked at multiple options within the city limits, and we finally said, you know, Mrs. Emerson's house was for sale a few years ago. Perhaps we'll ask her if she'll sell, and she did. So one of the things that I said last night to the city council, and I want to make sure that it's said here as well, is it was our choice and our intent to stay within the city boundaries as they were recognized. And I'm not qualified to dispute anything that Tim Cowan, he's a renowned reputation as a surveyor. I'm not here to question that. But what I will say it is important to recognize that both communities have been living quite harmoniously for 200 years under the existing boundaries. For what I see, like, I look out here and I see people I go to church with, I see people that I coach their children or grandchildren, kids that have been in my scout troop. And in many ways, yes, we are a large community. But when folks go to purchase a home, us, like so many of you when you did it, we're looking to buy a place that you're choosing in your free will. And I feel like through circumstances beyond my control, the free will of the choice that my wife and I made in 2019 to move to 125 West Main is being taken away. Now, there have been a lot of promises made to me from both the Gens officials and from the Panton side as well, regarding the zoning, regarding the sewer, et cetera, and I appreciate those. However, I've always viewed that as a consolation prize, and I don't mean that as a disrespect. I know so many of you people who are in this room, one of the community, one of the people, but that doesn't take away from the fact that I chose to buy my home in Gens. And based on the information that we have at the time, much like the folks that are in this room chose to buy their homes in Canada, based on the information they had at the time. And so I'm hoping that as a person who's found themselves in this situation, there's a great deal of consideration made when it comes time to make your decision as a select board as to what the needs are for the affected people in this area. Because we feel, I'm not going to speak, but I feel like my choice of where I choose to live is possibly being taken away. And I've served both communities quite well for over 20 years. And I think it's a great time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So first off, I want to thank you that people can come to a meeting and talk until they're finished. Our mayor takes out his phone and you get 180 seconds to talk. So first off, I very much appreciate the way that you're treating people in this room. And that's one of the good things about me possibly becoming a president. I want to just tell just a little bit of a story and also give a little bit of history. I became city clerk treasurer in October 1970. City clerk treasurer in 1977. I became city manager in February of 1981. I'm sitting at my desk, and on the right of my desk, there was an aerial photo of the desk, right? And Ken Teese, my predecessor at the time, Ken Teese, he actually had put very narrow red tape indicating that they understood to be town lines. And I don't know if I was bored one day or something, but I looked at that map and I knew that the bourgeois property had been surveyed, and I knew that there was some information that from this fence line to this fence line was 1,100 feet, and so I took math degree from UVM, so I can do some of the math here. So I took my scale out and I tried to figure out to see how close it was to the 400 rods by the 480 rods, which is 1.25 miles by 1.5 miles. And when I did it, it was like way off. I thought, holy man, what the hell? This thing is way, way off, all right? And I thought to myself, well, it must be, it was a satellite photo, it must have been the curvature of the lens or something. And I just sat down and went to work. Okay, I didn't think about it again. All right, this is back in 1981, long before Bob Mitchell did some studying for Ferrisburg. All right, I knew there was a problem. Fast forward to the early 90s, I think, or late 80s. I was so cheap. I did not want to pay somebody to do the city of Vergennes tax mapping. I knew they were just going to bug me all day long anyway. You know, where's this? Where's this survey? Whatever. So I took it upon myself to do it myself. We had the ortho photos, same ortho photos that you folks have out here. I bought the 20 sheets of Mylar, and over a 2 or 3 year period, taped those Mylars to the orthos, and I knew where the surveys were and everything, and I traced them, right? So one of the things is that in your FAQ, when there's a phrase in there that says a past manager, that's Mel Hawley. They don't need to say past manager, they can say Mel Hawley, it's okay, I'm proud of what I did. I did it because I was cheap, but I also did it because I wanted it to be accurate, all right? This team of experts behind that have worked behind the scenes, I just shook Kyle's hand for the first time tonight, right? I never met him in person. He and I have had a few email communications, but no one reached out to me. You know, I don't want to say I'm an expert, but I do have a lot of historical information about it. Nobody reached out to me, all right? Nobody even came up to me and said, "No, how'd you do those tax maps?" Nobody asked me that, all right? So let me just tell you how I did the tax maps. Relative to the town of Panton, I knew that Claude Bourgeois' survey, and I have a little bit of a photographic memory, which is crazy. I knew that Claude Bourgeois' survey had the Vergennes town line, the Panton-Vergennes line on the survey. I knew about that. I also knew that Ziggy Como, that her survey, who actually owns some land in Panton, I knew that her survey had a town line. Also, the Agency of Transportation is the one that drives the posted ground for the town highways about where the town lines are, and that's what's used to base your town mileage aid on, all right? So it's not like, I didn't put those posts in. Those posts were put there by the Agency of Transportation. Over in the southeasterly corner, what is now Thomas Circle, and also Booth Woods, those surveys were assumed to run along the town boundary between Waltham and Vergennes. I simply projected that line all the way across the bottom of the city to get to what is now the SD Ireland property down in that lower corner, and connected the dots with Claude Bourgeois' property and Ziggy's, okay? So my point is that there's this, using words like the past city manager estimated this and all of this type of thing, kind of making it slip up, was drawing a cartoon. Trust me, the Vergennes parcel maps are as accurate or more accurate than your own, okay? And I don't want to say that because I'm bragging. I just know how they were done. I know what I did to do it. So at the time, prior to 2005, the statute 1461 is very different than the way it's written in 2005. I'm trying to get the Secretary of State's office for the library to send me the statute as it existed prior to 2005. I do have it kind of memorized because when I completed the tax maps and they got digitized, they ran a tape of the parcels and it was I think the number is 1,660 acres. And when I got that, I thought, well, I'll be damned. Way back in 1981, when I was looking at that map up on the wall, I was right. There was 400 acres extra. So my point is that at that time, the law said acquiescence of a town line for more than 100 years shall deem the town line. I think that's what the statute said. So I had Ken Degree and myself, mostly Ken, research parcels. Property taxation started in 1841. And I think if you went in your grand list in 1841, looking at properties around the town boundary, you will find that there is no boundary line creep going on here. Those parcels were, the town boundaries were agreed upon in 1841. And it's been that way for 184 years, all right? And I know that Kyle wants to claw back 178 acres or some portion and put that on the grand list. But please, don't blame the folks that own it today because the people in 1841 agreed on something. That just defies logic to me. And I hope, I appreciate, Kyle, as aggressive as he is, trying to grab that grand list, get it on the grand list. But really, we're not really talking about very much money here at the end of the day. It's more about, as Betty Jo speaks, it's about people's lives, right? So really, option A, given the real history and understanding, option A is really the only option. This option of negotiating is just, to me, crazy.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
If it was vice versa, what would you do?
I can't answer that question. I don't.
No, but what's just your opinion on it? If it was the other situation where for Jen, was told that they had property in Panton to take back, how would you handle it?
Well,
Just as a,
sure,
person to person.
my feeling, I guess.
Remember your cheap.
I am.
Remember your cheap, you said
All right. I'm a guy, I believe in history, okay? So about what is the history of something, all right? If this happened 2 years ago, all right, or if there was evidence of creep, you would want to correct the creep. The fact that there's evidence going back to 1841, to me, is compelling. I just think it's compelling.
And what about the evidence that goes back to 1794 though? I mean, Virgins is only supposed to be 12.
Let me just say, if this is a hearing before the select board, I'm happy to speak to the select board. I'm happy to take questions from select board members. I'm not going to tolerate that. Okay, I just want to let you know that. I have no problem. If people want to pick my brain about something, I'm happy to do that. But he's not the chairman of the board of select. All right, you folks are the board of select. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I answer that question?
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
please.
Yeah.
I want feedback for,
Right.
for us, because we're getting all this information just like you are.
It's also sort of conservative, right? Like the
Absolutely.
property.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And just so folks know, 3 out of 5 members of this board have been installed this spring.
Right,
So,
we just became a 5-member board, and 2 of us, one who's not here tonight, and myself have been here for a while. These are 3 new members, and
All of the information is being thrown at us.
right, and reminding everybody that while we are elected officials and we do our best to stay on top of this, we do defer to the experts, because I'm not an expert surveyor. I do other things incredibly well, but that is not one of them. And so we do defer to experts because we can't know all of this stuff all of the time. So going forward, Kirsten, go ahead and ask your question
Yeah,
again.
if the roles were reversed and.
Yeah, I alluded to like the idea that there are several other scenarios by which this could be resolved. So So I work at the University of Vermont. I was brought here by our last president. Part of, I state my name. Part of my skill set is finding new paths to wicked problems, right? So I was brought here to help the University of Vermont perhaps look at underserved students in a different way. So that's my role. And what we do when we're in a conflict is to center the people who are most impacted. So we center our learners. That is where we start all of our conversations. Who stands to lose or win? And for us, it's always the learners. The people who stand to lose the most are the property owners here. Market value notwithstanding, identity notwithstanding, we all purchased or inherited, however we came into these properties, we purchased one in the city of Virgins. Travis is correct. It's like our agency is being taken away from us, and we are like sort of in a forced migration somewhere, right? So I would look to find a solution that honored the ones that were most impacted. And I think that could mean, a negotiated tax revenue, I'm not an expert in municipal law yet, but I can guarantee you I will be before the end of this process. A funnel of tax revenue, a portion of that back to Panton seems like a potential scenario to entertain. Because again, when you bring us all on, you're gonna have to purchase and procure more services to support us anyway. So it's not a straight $10 million grant. It's just not. Right? So that's that cost benefit analysis piece. If you determine that you're only going to get $1 million back, or maybe you're going to get $9 million back, these are unanswered questions for you as a town as well. So that's an option. One of the other options that was offered by another of your residents is, finding ways to give your residents different services in the city of Virgins. I mean, there are just so many other options than leave it alone and take it away. The binary nature of those things just feels like, easy thinking, if that makes sense.
Kirsten, did your question get answered?
Not so much.
Because I was, no, it's okay. I mean, because I understand what you asked, and I didn't
So
hear.
I guess my point, so us as Pan residents, learning that all of these years, there's been all of this acreage that belongs to us that Virgins has taken over.
Right.
Without looking at the whole situation of how it affects.
Have some feelings about it, of course.
You don't give up land. When you own land, you don't give it up. So that's the quick understanding that it's more complex than that.
Right.
That's why I'm asking Virgin's residents, if the situation was reversed, how would you feel about it?
Right, if you thought you had 1,500 acres and that
Like,
you were.
that's a lot of land that supposedly can't.
Right. If you were a property owner and you were told you're going to Ferrisburg, how would you feel about that?
So for me, living in Panton, I've had 6 children that have gone to Virgins. I am the booster club president. I have been on the school board. It doesn't mean that much. We're one community. So for me, I get told on my address for everything that I live in Virgins. It's not Panton. It comes up as Virgins. If we call the ambulance, if we call the fire department, it's a Virgins phone call. The post office is in Virgins. When we have swimming lessons, we get to pay the higher rate to have our kids have swim lessons in Virgins because we are not a Virgins resident. So that's all the things that we as Pan residents have dealt with. So for me to move to, it personally doesn't affect any of my taxes.
Yeah, so I think I would also say that I don't know that anybody has enough answers to all of the questions to even.
Yeah, it's a very complex situation. Right? That's why I just kind of wanted to hear Virgins.
I don't know how much it would cost. I don't know what the capacity is for the town of Panton to take on the additional properties. So I can't even say what would even be fair, Is it like if there's an option D where it's a tax revenue exchange, I don't even know what the ratio would even look like, because I don't know what your infrastructure is. I don't know what it would cost to even, process our taxes every year for you, right? But I think those are the right questions. And I do want to maybe just amplify that we have a lot of questions unanswered too. And so anytime someone says, we hope, it's just that you vote somewhere else, it's like, well, hope doesn't pay, hope doesn't pay me back when I want to sell my home, right? This cannot be a hope situation for everyone. It feels like a moment to be really precise. And so when information got posted on those web pages and it was incorrect, it was a huge red flag for me to make me feel very suspicious of what is all of this? But B, how do we fact check these things now that we've found that even small things are incorrect?
Yeah.
So thank you.
I also want to remind people that this is the beginning of the process. We had to gather all the information, and that there's multiple hearings coming up, or information sessions, or whatever the correct term is, so that we can answer as many of those questions as possible before either legislative body makes any decisions about it. Okay, I'm gonna go back here, and then Travis, you can go again, okay?
I'm Kathy Rossier. I pay taxes in Sudan, I pay taxes in Panton, and I pay taxes in Bears.
Okay.
I just want to tell you. Apparently, those affected were sent a letter that here's a scenario that we are probably gonna follow. Did you guys read the letter? Did you know that letter was going out to the Gems residents? Did you read it before? So you never saw that?
Did it come from the city of Vergennes? I mean, because it didn't come from the town of Panton, so I don't know where, I'm not sure. So it came from the city of Vergennes.
And we wouldn't have said that it was a scenario that we were gonna follow.
Excuse me.
Oh, sorry.
One, your grant, and then the other one was. Okay, fine.
We haven't decided on the scenario.
Yeah, it all like a proposal. Everybody's been very, very people, when these are proposals.
Right.
This is not finalized in anything, and there are 3 proposals, the administrative groups that were recommended the 3rd proposal, because it was most beneficial to local officials.
Travis, did you get your?
Want to take the Cotton Creek residents? Infrastructurally, it would be weird, it would be probably impossible for you guys to take that on, so they did that.
So Kirsten, I would directly answer your question. I've been an elected official in Vergennes before, and I was asked to fill in for a vacant seat on the city council, which much to my chagrin, I did not. To answer your question, if the roles are reversed, I would unequivocally advocate that we just stick with option A, because it causes too much hardship for the humans, not the, as Betty Jo said, the lines on the map, the parcel ID numbers, to the humans that are living amongst the communities, as I said earlier, in harmony. I've worked with so many youth in both communities. I've worked for so many adults in both communities, and I think that it just causes, I mean, I've lost sleep over this, and I don't feel like some folks, it's not a good feeling. It really isn't. And unless you're looking at it through the lens of somebody that's in those 12 houses, it's hard to really gauge how you feel. And so, had I been appointed to the city council to fill that vacant role, to answer your question, I would unequivocally say, let's not screw people's lives, without a question, no matter who it was.
Thank you.
Which way it was.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say, I do thank Kyle and Ron for getting the ball rolling on this. But I do think the boundary line needs to be established, whatever it is, and whatever it decides. But I think that I forget what your deadline in the letter was.
April, right?
April deadline, I think you better just throw that right out the window now, because from what we're hearing tonight.
Isn't there something going on, the reason why it has to be April deadline?
No, there wasn't a reason. The idea was to keep momentum on this issue. The reason is, part of the reason is that the state legislature will not grant a charter amendment to any town whose boundaries are under consideration. We obviously passed the charter amendment during our last town meeting. That is held up, will not even be entertained by the government ops committee until the boundary is established. Vergennes has been wanting to pass a charter change and multiple charter changes for a number of years. That also held up, will not be passed. There's a lot of impetus for us to solve this issue. You know, we've known about it for many years now, and unfortunately, the reality is we need to find a solution. And again, the administrative group came together as a soft landing solution to this idea that, you know, we maybe see this through in a particular way, obviously up to the legislative bodies. But yeah, there is a real need to solve this. April 1st, 26 was chosen because before the grand list is lodged for next year. But, you know, obviously, and our legal counsel has said as well that, you know, maybe we understand that it might take a little bit longer. So, you know, it's not hard and fast, but we do need to move on it, because anything we want to do charter-wise is going to be held up for both communities.
Okay.
Yes. I got a big mouth, so I'm sure everybody can hear me real tonight. A few years ago, and again, Mel was the one that noticed the mistake. The town of Panton was sent the wrong fire bill. Mel was not at the city at the time. We got sent the wrong one. We got sent Waltons. And again, having new select board and stuff, good faith, we paid it, we budgeted it. We run on a shoestring. And Mel being the person he is and doing things what should be right. Months later, when he came back to the city of Vergennes, noticed the mistake. We did have to pay that other bill, even though we paid the one that was sent to us, was written in contract and everything for a lot, much lower than what it should be. So when people say it's not about money, it's about the money. Because way back then, we had to pay the city of Vergennes a lot of money that we had not budgeted for because we had sent the wrong bill. We paid it. But the city of Vergennes come after the town of Panton to get the rest of the money. Now, we're not talking big money like we are here. But when it comes right down to it, with everybody, it's all about money. So we gotta take and look at the whole big picture. What's gonna work for everybody? And I understand folks living in Vergennes, I understand it 100%. A lot of things won't change. Your address is still going to get rejected. Mine's rejected. So, you know, it's about the money, and when we're losing a lot of money because of this, that's what it's all about. But there's so many ways we can work together on it. So you folks don't have to come in, like I said, and Kirsten said, there's so many benefits that go on for Vergennes that as Panton residents, we have to pay extra for. You know, we have to pay extra for fire, like I said, fire. We have to pay for all these different things. And, you know, if we could work together somehow and make it work for everybody. We're a local community, we see each other at the store. I don't want to walk up to somebody and say in the store, or have you walk up to the house and say, he doesn't do it like a Panton now. You know, no. So, I mean, we all have to get out of it, wherever we are. It all comes down to the money that we're not getting running a small town, because you know, what do we have? One business in town. And that's what it's all about. So if there's some way, I think everybody can work together. So maybe we get a piece of the tax money that these people in Vergennes pay. Okay, you're really getting paid. Say your taxes are $5,000. Well, Good faith will give paying $1,500. You know, let's work together and keep everybody happy. But like I said, it all comes down to dollars and cents. Everybody wants the dollars, let's now have a little bit of cents.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
There's a question on
Oh,
that.
okay.
If Panton would like to change the boundary line, why not go back to the original line or charter line, I guess that person means. That would include the trailer park, asking the administration why that was not the route to take. Part of the decision-making process that the administrations came together on was that Panton is a small town office. We have myself, we have Donna part-time. The mobile home community has hundreds of residents. Additionally, there is a municipal sewer infrastructure that would come along with that property that would be troublesome, requiring significant legal arrangements and agreements. Additionally, the sudden increase by one property to the voter rolls of Panton would be significant. 20% of our electorate would now be in the mobile home community. So for those decisions, for those reasons, that was not part of the negotiated document.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, hi, I'm Gretchen Bailey. If we can't come to any kind of agreement, it goes to arbitration.
That's correct.
And who decides that? Who is the arbitrator?
All municipalities in Vermont that signed on to the arbitration agreement with the state have agreed that the state would propose a supposedly independent arbitrator to make the decision. In cases where arbitration has gone forward, such as the recent case of St. George and Heinsberg, arbitration was an expensive process. It involved a surveyor on each side, it involved a team of lawyers, and it involved a state arbitrator, as well as select persons from both communities. It eventually led to a line that people were relatively, no one was truly happy with, but everyone was equally unhappy, so you can call that a win, I guess. But the arbitration process is no guarantee that anything comes with it, in the sense of the agreements that would come with it, in the sense of the protections that would come with it, and in the sense that Panton can handle the administrative capacity and pretends to afford to lose the whole chunk of grandness revenue that the boundary, that the entire charter boundary has a component. The arbitration generally defaults on where the charter line is, and case law now, is pretty clear on that, which is that the charter line determines where the arbitrator starts the conversation. And usually we have some say in the matter, but it becomes an expensive process for both communities involved. So that's the kind of, nuclear option of this process in Act 24.
Okay. I think we're gonna wrap up this part of the meeting and move back into the select board meeting. So is there a motion?
Does anybody else wants to speak before we make a motion?
One quick question, please.
Yes, sir.
Is this eventually going to be something, if there's an agreement which the administrative bodies, that the community citizens will
We haven't even had that conversation yet.
that's something that the administrative staff has discussed?
Look, we haven't discussed it either. The law doesn't necessarily actually provide that option. And so it would have to be, we'd have to get the town lawyers involved on that to be able to make any kind of.
Oh, thank you.
All right, I'm like to make a motion to move back into our regular select board meeting. I want to thank everybody for all your feedback. It really does help a lot.
I will second that motion.
All in favor? Aye.
Sitting at 6:42.
Give it a second.
Sure. Yeah, it's cool.
I'm supposed to leave this like 33 minutes.
I'll muddle my way through the rest.
I mean, it's just motion. I mean, once we get through these hearings, it's much more straightforward.
That sounds a plan. Yeah, I appreciate hearing from everybody. This is sort of one of those.
Like, it really doesn't say what they want to say. I also understand it's
Yes.
So I respect both sides of it.
I sat in on Zoom and listened to maybe. I was looking at a lot of interesting points last night too.
I mean, there's a lot to consider.
It is.
You know, it's not.
Okay. Who's the gentleman in the NRA talking? Okay. Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you. We're gonna resume with our select board meeting, which means we're gonna move directly into a hearing on proposed zoning regulation changes and the administrative official enforcement powers. So I make a motion at 6:43 to move into the second hearing about our zoning regulation changes.
I will second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, so this was a proposed change to the zoning enforcement that passed through the planning commission. And I believe we have Amy and we have the chair of the planning commission and Dave Martini, zoning administrator. Required step in this process. It did pass through the planning commission, so it's the opportunity for select board to discuss with the officials regarding this.
Jamie, did you want to start by kind of giving us a rundown of what went down at the planning commission? Thank you so much.
So essentially, the BRD had to discuss adding this section 315 enforcement of tax. So just to maybe start off by saying that the intention was starting with a document that the city of Virginia and many other communities have. So we're getting looking at trying to just have something that's going to address some concerns that our zoning administrator had in terms of having something in place that has some teeth. And it would hopefully result in less of a burden for the select board in terms of having to deal with zoning issues. David, is there anything you'd like to add?
Sure. Currently, to enforce the zoning regulations, the select board has to authorize DRB to go to the environmental court. The burden is on DRB to prove the violation existed after I would propose a fine for failure to comply. The things that the suggested revisions to is one, codify that I only can act upon receipt of a written complaint. So that an anonymous complaint will not be acted upon. People tend to like to make complaints, but not be willing to stand behind their complaints. The other thing that codifies is specifically between the authority to go on a property to see if there is a violation. Currently, there's a court case that says I have that authority. This is specifically giving me the authority only after a written complaint was filed to go on. It gives me the ability to regulate a fine unless you remediate the problem. And my goal is to bring people into compliance, not fine. And if I can say to someone, if you don't do this in the next 7 days, I'm going to have to fine you. And I would immediately call the chairman of the DRB and say, this is the situation we're in, I want you to be aware of. If the person rectifies it, it's fine. If not, the suggested language provides for an initial fine of $100, and then can rectify it instantly, but there's on a daily basis. But I think it really would expedite the bringing people in compliance, not bringing in a lot of money.
Can you give an example to the board of what it might be?
There was a situation, there is a situation, where there is potential violation of the noise ordinance. And the, people who are doing it say, well, you know, we're just building a house. But we have neighbors that are putting up with excessive noise. And I think that, well, I've talked to the people doing it, that I haven't gotten to the point of saying, well, you're going to be fine, I can't do it.
So is there a certain time of the day when they can start and when they have to end?
No, there is no, the regulations do not have specific times. There's just a 70 decibel, where they have the property. So if I'm not there, I can't measure 70 decibels. But it just gives someone ability
So
to.
can you kind of elaborate on this? Like, what are they actually doing that's not allowed?
Construction.
Right, so it's gonna be, if you're doing construction, it's gonna be
They're
noise.
using a front break up stone.
Okay, so that's not gonna go on forever, it's just gonna be a
It's
period
going,
of
it's going
time.
on for 12 months.
Okay,
And Jamie, you said that other municipalities have these ordinances in place surrounding, okay,
That is correct.
So, like-
There's a lot on those ordinances.
got it. I mean,
The state statute provides for two methodologies.
so I'm trying to think, Virgin's wouldn't probably be a good benchmarks or city, but like Waltham, for example, would have one, or maybe Weybridge or Addison, or. That's okay, I'm just curious, yeah.
can I just ask another question? So is it breaking with like concrete pad or like doing like stone?
Yes.
Okay. So don't you have to have a permit?
I drive, but
Removing rock to
You're
build.
building a house,
Okay, so it's,
but they have to blast.
right, you have to blast this and that stuff. Right. You know, I understand that.
I guess I guess what it sounds like, my understanding is that it's that it's been going on for 12 months. Not that you have to break stone. Of course, you have to break stone to be able to put in your basement and all the foundation and all of that stuff. But the question is, how long do the neighbors put up with dropping a bucket to break the stone, right? And if that type of noise has been going on for
So is it like an
12
everyday
months.
situation? Or is it like once a month situation?
apparently it was pretty constant when they first began,
Uh-huh.
and I believe they're done.
Okay.
Deb?
I guess I'm just about this, isn't that going to discourage people from building it? I mean, you gotta be able to build your house and stuff. Go to the person that, go to your neighbor and say, that noise is really bothering us, and tell us what you're gonna do with it. Maybe we'll go for a ride, or the person that's doing it, say, send you guys out to summer, why do you do this?
But and that's a situation where these people are
The neighbors had many conversations about the noise.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get a
I mean,
clear.
that's a specific scenario as well. I mean, just general, this is about the broadest scope of all the zoning regulations in town. We have many regulations designed to promote health, welfare, and safety in the town, and this would allow us to, it's actually the administrative officer in the text of this language, which is the zoning administrator, but could also be the chair of the select board. It could be, it allows the town, which currently the process to go through environmental court is cumbersome, it's slow. It allows the town to utilize the civil court system to be able to take action. And as it was stated, there are a number of other towns have adopted this as a very reasonable solution to a middle path of how can we solve this. It's not a revenue generating machine. It's, as I think David stated.
Yeah.
The threat is often more important than the actual kind of revenue.
Right. It's more bringing, I like the whole concept of, the goal is to get them in compliance.
Right.
Not because we want to fine them or punish them, but we want them to be
Right.
kind of within
No, I'm just
the,
trying to.
yeah, no, it's all good.
Most people who are not aren't aware.
Right.
That's fair.
Yeah.
David, is there like an appeal process for this? Say they don't like you, that
It comes first.
Okay.
To the development review board for review.
Got it. Okay. Sorry if that was an ignorant question, but.
That's why they're here.
And during our meeting, there was some discussion around that, and we thought this was unreasonable. Again, not for the particular example that David just used, but in general, to make sure there's a process and maybe some motivation to resolve the process and not have it go on, in the example that was used here, a year. I mean, it's getting excessive.
Okay.
Melissa, you had your hand up. Are you good or?
I was gonna say, it's like what I was pointing out, it's not about the noise, that's not what it's about.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
Giving authority to-
Yeah.
Right,
Right.
exactly.
Okay.
Okay.
Mary, did you have a question? Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other thoughts and comments? Okay, 6:54. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, David. We're gonna move back into the regular make a motion to an action. We have an action. Okay.
To approve or disapprove.
Okay.
The way, just as.
Sorry,
Aside here, it's okay.
Gotcha.
The way this is going to work is that if approved by the select board, I believe in 60 days.
Okay.
In 60 days, it takes.
Got it.
Okay. So is there any other discussion on the select board about this? We're gonna make a motion one way or the other. You gonna go for it?
Sure, I will make a motion to approve what was presented to us, knowing the goal is to bring folks into compliance.
And I will second that. All in favor? Aye. All right. 6:55, moving back into regular select board. I'll make a motion to move back into the regular select board meeting.
And I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Woo. Now we get to move into regular stuff. Okay, clerk treasurer update. Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for your patience.
We got the grant money for the ash trees, removal, it's been deposited, as Rick mentioned, we, got the grant all set, ready to go, and I will be submitting it for a better road, work on West Road. So, we're all ducks in a row on that. The grants were received for the culvert project the day after we sent the signs back, which is just, our name starts with P.
Yeah, it's a
I
bummer,
think
but-
they were going alphabetical, which is the unfortunate.
Oh, geez, yeah.
But the grants are in hand, ready to go. So
Okay.
as soon as Acker, does their business, we're gonna, as Rick said, try to get it done before school.
Okay, great.
The voter list has been purged, thanks to the BCA for the meeting on that. New challenges have been issued, and we've already been some back, challenges, responses, one way or the other, which is great. The personnel policy update is in the works. Kathy actually noted that the personnel policy is discontinued, but it's still adopted by the select board, so I'm gonna work on that after all this other stuff. And it will be presented to the select board. Maybe not the next meeting, but the meeting.
Missing a page on the
It doesn't-
website, or like
doesn't-
just in?
There's one page that doesn't flow into.
Yeah, no, it's definitely.
Oh,
missing.
okay,
And
got
it's- It's like that in the official document downstairs too. So.
Weird. I wonder how the hell
I just wonder if a page got lost.
Some draft got
Whatever.
lost in the pages. Realize that, and so I will.
Has to do with a hearing or something like that.
Oh, weird. It's just because I read that cover to cover and I didn't even catch that,
There's a
so
couple
thank you,
of
yeah.
things that don't make sense in it, to be more tailored to
Okay.
specific stuff, so I'm gonna do a general, show it and I'll.
Sounds good.
FEMA grant, we are money again, not only obligated to the state, I fulfilled the grant agreement with the state Department of Public Safety, the money is for the grant agreement is being sent around for all the important signatures, and they're sending back the money of $50,000 at some point next week. That is what they do. That's the initial federal obligation, 50,000. The state obligation of an additional 12.5% is coming after that. And then the administrative cost grant will come third. after FEMA does their thing and closing out. So it's just that, it's a long process, obviously. And for right now, I believe that is it. Yeah, that's it for treasurer update.
Okay, awesome. Let's moving on to item number 8, approval of minutes from both 7/9 and 7/17, which was the info session. Is there any discussion?
You all just have those last week.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes from 7/9/25.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I will also make a motion to approve the minutes for the info session, boundary dispute info session on 7/17.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, cruising right along now.
Wonderful. So you have, Logan is with us tonight. We have a volunteer, Catherine Hayes, stepped down from DRB. Post that public forum, Logan responded. You have a copy of his letter of intent, also have a copy of his resume if you're interested in seeing it. Logan, you're free to address the select board.
I am Logan. New resident of Panton.
Okay.
Welcome.
Yes, welcome.
Special engineer.
Amazing. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for volunteering. We really appreciate it.
And Logan is actually already provided me some guidance on the project that we're going to talk about a little bit later.
Fantastic. All right. Does anybody have any questions for Logan? Yeah.
Yes. Nice to see younger folks getting involved in local politics, so welcome. If you accept Logan Longe's proposal to join DRB.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Welcome to the DRB.
Thank you
so much.
Welcome.
First meeting. Okay. Municipay.
Yeah, so this is kind of a two-part thing. Donna and myself had, the town, there's a lot of towns, so currently the town uses strike to pay or to allow folks to pay dog licenses and things like that online. We really don't like the customer service, don't like the interface, it's only for dog licenses and things like that, copies and stuff like that, but it's really not great. Really don't like the customer service or anything like that. So we were approached by an organization named Municipay, which is actually based on a recommendation from the city of Heinsberg, who just signed up for Municipay. Municipay is an online, and the town has had this in the past, online gaming. Municipay is an organization, it's a company, and they sell a service, which is the processing of electronic forms of payment for a city or a town to be able to accomplish this. Now, Municipay is slightly different than the other ones in that it is totally free to the town because they collect, like strikers, they collect a percentage of the thing, the taxes or the dog license or whatever. And they collect a portion of that as their fee. Their service is free to the town and the customer support is also free. They will also customize their site to look like yours and integrate it into your website, which is great. Additionally, there's a couple other components that we can discuss later about ameliorating fees or something like that, but they'll also take tax payments, which is really cool. Now, they'll take tax payments by credit card at 3%. Now, that's obviously a lot when you're talking about tax payments by credit card. But they will also take tax payments by ACH, electronic check, $1.50 for the total amount, which is actually really good. So you want to pay your $5,000 tax bill, for $1.50, you can pay it online at your convenience, and it's followed through Municipay. We like this a lot. We like the setup. We like the user interface. We like the fact that there's no cost to the town. The contract makes very clearly that there is no cost to the town. I verified this multiple times. The money they make is based on the fees that they charge. Obviously, nobody's forced to use it. You can still do whatever, pay in whatever other method.
Is this online only, or are you gonna have a card machine downstairs?
That might be a component in the future. We can have a card machine downstairs, again, at no cost to the town. So they provide us, we have to provide the device.
In my experience, they do a rental fee with their machine, so just, if you come across that, watch for the rental.
There is no rental fee on their machine.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Well, again, they make enough money on their 3%. So they, we'd have to provide the device, but we could integrate credit card payment into downstairs. And for things like copies and vault times, not much. Taxes, obviously.
Is there anything that would prohibit us from turning that 3% back on the payer?
That's what it does.
That's what it
That's
does.
Oh, got it.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you meant you were, I was like, whoa, that's a pile of cash. Okay, yeah.
So as a component of that, the town would have to update, if the select board approves us the ability to go forward with the contract, the town of Panton currently has a payment policy. The payment policy stated that for the safety and security of monies paid to the town, the maximum cash payment was $100 in cash, which would make sense for us because we're going to 160 in the wall. Payments for current delinquent taxes can be made by personal cash, or personal check, cashier's check, money order, or online by a credit card or ACH through municipal. That's the change in this section. A $25 fee, and this doesn't change. This is again what it was. A $25 fee is charged on checks returned for insufficient funds. That's the way it's always been. Which must be paid separately if the replacement check is issued. If the funds are not available, the final tax due date, that's what is on file right now. With the change in all of it is changed from online payment style, which is what the town had used in 2017 or something when this policy was moved.
So since we're entertaining the payment policy as a whole, the $25, that covers what our bank charges us for the return payment fee, correct?
No, you're right.
Then that's,
It's 36.
okay, so if we're gonna update this, I feel like we should do it
that's a great-
all.
Nice call. Good one.
Yeah, it's 36.
And then I guess my other question is cybersecurity. I know you can only, there's always a risk behind all of it, right? Does what we currently have, I guess the policy is not correct, but what we use to mitigate cybersecurity, is that going to be effective enough for this, or we're going to be looking at upgrades?
We don't, because we don't take digital payment. We don't have any, we don't have / need safeguards. We don't hold, we hold bank account information in our locked computer file for direct debit people in the town, which is a way that people can pay their taxes.
Sure.
We do not store any other credit card information because we don't take credit cards. We don't store electronic information, ACHs and stuff, because we haven't taken those things in taxes. Additionally, we wouldn't in the future. This is all managed by this organization under their
It
liability.
doesn't compromise us.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
That's municipal
Companies
stuff.
that it all, okay, they have. their
So
own cyber.
if Deb comes in and pays her taxes, somebody hacks us, they're not getting her number off our network, right? It's okay.
They'll get her
Just as
number,
an
but just from
example.
them, not us.
Okay,
All right.
sorry to use you as an example. Couple, Steve, you had a question?
Yeah, you said there's no charge to the town. But if they're taking a percentage of the revenue.
It's being
No,
turned
it's
back
being
on.
added
right.
on.
One person. It's charged to the user.
So it's a convenience fee.
Correct, yes.
90% of your stores now do that.
Yep.
Yes, I just paid one of those earlier. And Melissa?
Spend a lot of that at DJ.
Thanks,
right?
guys.
So I did look a little bit on this today on my website last night, and part of what I think they're asking you is to upload your tax bills, correct? So that people will be able to know how much they owe. So how they might be making their money is they're getting all this information that they then give to Zillow, or I'm just saying, I'm just making this up. So realtor.com to see what we taxed last year, so they're making money off that. We're gonna have to maintain constant uploading the tax bills and every change to this municipal pay company. When, how many people did you run through the .gov program last year that paid by credit card? When I was here, it wasn't that many.
Yeah.
We had maybe 3 people a year at the most that used the service. And so it was nothing. It wasn't, we didn't need to upload anything, we didn't need to add that to your list. So I would question whether or not.
Whether it's worth it really, right? Like, yeah, I see
You
your
don't
point.
need to upload tax. That's not necessarily the component.
So-
They don't
So
require.
they just pay it, their amount that they know it's gonna be.
If you choose to pay your taxes online, we just offer it as an option. They don't require the tax.
So-
It just means the person who's paying needs to know how much they have to
Right.
pay.
Oh.
It's their
okay,
job,
yeah.
it's their job to know what their
I envision
bill
this,
is.
I envision this as a mechanism by which the town office, and a lot of people want to pay, especially researchers, want to be able to pay things with credit. So I envision this as collecting what we collect in Stripe fees right now online, which are mostly dog fees and all, what we do. A mechanism to collect the usual online fees that folks are paying, and then add in the component that they can pay for record searches online, where they can pay for other things. Right now, I don't really have a way, if a person calls me and asks for a tax bill, it's 25 cents technically. Do I charge them? It's not worth my time to get the information from them to figure out a method of payment for 25 cents than it is to like charge them or like, there's no mechanism by which a person can call my office and pay over the phone. This allows me to expand the definition without, and Stripe does too, because their customer service is terrible. And the impression that both Donna and myself got was that this company offers a much higher level of customer service. There's no requirement for the tax bills. I'm not 100% sure how we're going to do the taxes in that regard. I think offering it as an option is nice, but I don't know if it's necessarily going to be a component. I think a slow rollout to make sure. The contract is a 3-year contract with a 1-year interval of reapproval with a 30-day clause, and you have to notify them if you want. So basically 30 days.
Go ahead. Yeah,
No,
no, yeah,
no.
go
Do
ahead.
you know if many, towns and cities are using this?
Yes.
And any feedback from them?
Yeah, so a lot of towns and cities are using this. I mean, Heinsberg uses it. Yeah, so we got the recommendation from Becky Condon, who works for the town and also works for Heinsberg, and she recommended this because Heinsberg is, now they have sewer and water in Heinsberg that you can pay your own bills for, so there's a higher level of things that they're paying the town for in the first place, so it makes a little bit more sense. But she said that they've been great to work with, and they really integrated well into Nemrick and not into the town website, into the Heinsberg website. And yeah, I mean, it's a zero cost alternative to the system we're already using, and I hate the system we're already using, so like, yes, and
And then
we
one
can,
of-
and we can slow roll out.
And again, it's deferring to the people who, like, I could say, well, I don't see why we would do it, but I don't use it, so it doesn't really affect me. And so I'm definitely interested in your perspectives, because you are the two that have to manage Stripe system, which isn't awesome. Okay, any other questions on the?
Jamie?
Jamie?
So just maybe a friendly amendment, would you be able to say at this point, unless you come back to the select board, you will not be uploading tax records in your information to the system? Sure.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just thinking that as well.
Okay.
I don't mind it for everything else, but I'm a little, at least yellow light, proceed with caution on taking tax payments via it.
Well, I think taking tax payments are fine, because the person who's putting their name on there is the risk, but what I understand Jamie to be saying is that we're not putting any tax information
Yeah, I
up.
mean, and if the product is free, you're the product, and I understand that, so like, I get that there might be selling information to Zillow.
Yep.
So on, those companies have a million and one ways to get that information anyways, but yeah, no, I completely get that.
I want to make it easy.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that there is a way to upload amounts that doesn't upload it itself. Something like that, but I'm happy to accept that amendment to this proposal. And we can even wait on the payment policy change until I'll change it, and you could vote to authorize us to pursue the municipal, which is gonna take several weeks to set up anyways, and then.
Any other questions on the select board?
All right.
Okay,
I will make a motion to authorize the town clerk, treasurer, and assistant clerk to pursue the municipal contract with the nuance that no resident information is being uploaded.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Internal controls.
Yes, and thank you very much for Mr. Dayton, for updating me on this piece of information. This is something that should be done on a yearly basis. So much.
Question, we have to table the last.
The pivot policy update till next meeting? Should we-
Yes.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. I feel like we should, just because I definitely want to make sure we're capturing what we're charged for return fees, and then anything that you may find during working with Municipal.
Yeah. So the treasurers in each town are required to complete a checklist, basically provided by the state treasurer's office on internal controls available, or internal controls that are present in the treasurer's office. This hadn't been done for many years, and thank you again, Melissa Dayton, for reminding me of this. And all the delay is, but basically what I provided you is the financial management questionnaire, town is sufficient. And this comes from, there's a number of different questionnaires, but this comes directly from the state treasurer's website. And you can see on there the internal controls that we attest to. Now, this is the same attestation that we make to the auditors in terms of these internal controls, and this internal control checklist will be on the website. It would require action for your, basically that you received it.
So should we make a motion to that we're gonna receive this, and then one of us signs it and sends it to you, or gives it to you?
But if you want to ask me any questions prior to the reception of it, I'm happy to.
Thank you.
On the back.
This does have a.
No, I'm just blind evidently. Sorry.
So, there are a number of things, obviously, like, are you a participant in any town, which does business with the town? Think questions like that.
Yeah.
Asking me. Are checks written by the same individual who approves payments? All these kind of internal control questionnaires that are important to know. And again, these are very similar to the ones that the auditors ask that we sign off on this part. And we don't have any elected auditors, so that question is moot, but the rest of it, I think it's good.
Yep.
So this is cookie cutter consistent from the state, so to speak, or?
Well, the form?
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Each town is obviously going to be a little bit.
Right, of course, yep.
Each town operates.
Sure.
No, I mean, those opportunities do come up through VLCT, the Virgins League of Cities and Towns, where we'll get invitations to go to different trainings. And if they're really, they're really interesting. It's just a matter of finding the time, because they're always during the work week. They're always, they're on, days that might be hard to take off, but.
It's nice to network with other board members from other towns as well too, and hear some of their issues that they face.
Okay, so if anybody has any questions, I think I'm going to make a motion to accept the financial management questionnaire, the internal controls paper. I'm just gonna wait for Kirsten.
I'm all
Is
set.
everybody else set? Okay, so all in favor? Aye.
And like I said, this will be on the website along with the audit on the website and as well as.
Here, I just signed it. Here you go. Good night. Okay, you're welcome.
FY 26 financial review.
Yes, so, we're obviously talking about basically July.
Sure.
That we moved, because July is reconciled, great, the new accounting system, great. We're looking forward to smooth sailing on a variety of financial areas. The last document is page. Great idea. I think I'm gonna talk to Kevin Crooks about this. But just to jump to the last page of so I gave you the budget actual as of July. And then the last page of that is this management of reserve fund / cash accounts. And Kevin's point, and I think it's an important one, is basically to discuss the fact that, the town has been using the reserve funds in lieu of the taxes during their own, offset expenditures. And, further down the next agenda item, I think, is the can, or a couple agenda items and now is can. And we're gonna discuss that, but, basically what this document is saying is that, given the cash position of the town owes more money to the reserve funds than we have cash in the bank. Means that we don't have enough to cover the actors. Now, this is, it's not illegal, it is just a method of accounting, but it is a way that I think that the reserve funds haven't been used properly. Or the cash hasn't been used properly. The point of this document is to basically kind of go over the fact that, we need to have better management of the reserve funds, which is what I'm going to talk about like Dan, and that basically what we're paying the bills right now, that our cash in the bank, our cash position is poor. In terms of the budget actual, there's a number of items that are kind of normal in terms of their the average code. The month, as I said, reconciled nicely, no bank or outstanding banking issues. The only item that I think I really want to change is on page 10. It is the number support line. We had paid Nemrick to do some of the work updating the chart of accounts, and I think we allocated it to this number support line item. So this line item is showing at 102% of budget. It should be 100% of budget to pay our dues to Nemrick for support.
Right.
And that will go into other essential services.
Okay.
Additional items for budget for consideration right now in the budget are, we spent probably half of our budget for road signs right now. We have basically, everything else seems to be kind of proceeding at a pretty normal rate. I haven't noticed anything else. We've had a lot of marriage licenses, actually. Great. Marriage season, I guess. This year we've had more marriage licenses in the last 2 months than we did all last year. So that's great. We are expecting, as I said, the FEMA revenue. We are expecting strategic grant revenue coming in, better grant compensation. But other than that, I think this is pretty standard budget for a reconciled first month out of this.
Kathy?
I'm just wondering why that can't be put onto the website for the meeting, the John stuff at all
Sure.
the time. As part of the financial stuff. They have a packet.
I did go
And,
check that. Administrative.
even if it's just, you guys want to review it before it goes on.
Well, yeah,
But I think it should be available to the residents.
Yeah, it's public information. Welcome to get a copy. I'm happy to put it on the website. Any questions about financials right now?
I have to take I have to meet long meeting for that planned for a while, so
That's
I am
all right.
going to take off. Leaving it in good hands of Reese. Have a lovely rest of your evening.
Okay.
I'll see you all soon.
All right.